to Chef in the Fridge. I'm Chef James, and this is a concept where we take one ingredient and we make sure we use every part of it and create all different recipes out of it, so there's zero waste. Today we're going to be using a store-cooked rotisserie chicken. I know you're saying, Chef in the Fridge, Chef James, store-bought rotisserie chicken, what are you doing? Well, with these chickens being cooked so perfectly and $5 to $6 a piece, there's no reason for me to spend too much time roasting my own chickens when I could buy this for $5 to $6. So I would rather take this chicken and then create great things out of it. Treat it like any other ingredient. Treat it like you walked into the grocery store and bought a tomato, or you went into the grocery store and bought yourself a T-bone steak. This is that ingredient. It just so happens to be cooked already. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a broth out of the bones and the skin. And while that's happening, we're going to get our ingredients together today to make a Beggars soup. This is going to be a big twist on Beggars soup. I'm not sure why they always called it that, because even back in its origins, they used Pecorino Romano. And I don't know many beggars that were able to get their hands on Pecorino Romano. So we're going to make this a little bit different. Normally they didn't have any meat in it, but we're going to use the chicken, the actual meat from this chicken. So we'll use the skin and the bones to make the broth for the soup, and we're going to add this chicken to our other Beggars soup ingredients. So it's really simple. I have a pot. In this particular case, I have 4 cups of water, and we're going to pull the meat out so that we could use this later and get rid of the skin into that pot. We'll throw the wings in. There's not much on there. We want a little bit of meat. Another great part about using the pre-cooked rotisserie chicken is that it's already roasted, so there's a certain smokiness and flavor that we're going to get out of the skin and the bones without us having to go through the trouble. We're not worried about leaving some meat on because that'll help flavor our broth, and we're going to retrieve that meat at the end anyway before we turn our fully cooked broth into the broth for our soup. So we're gonna just grab what we can here and throw this all inside. Take the breast, some beautiful breast meat, tenderloin. Get all that skin, and there's a little harder piece, we'll throw that in as well. All right, so we have all this delicious meat off the bones. Get our bones into 4 cups of water. I don't want to waste any of that delicious juice. Now we're going to add some onions, carrots, celery, garlic, some peppercorns, some fresh thyme and fresh rosemary. I'm a big fan of taking that extra step and using fresh herbs. There's really nothing like it, and it's worth it, especially here where I'm lucky out in California where I can grow these herbs year round. So you just go outside and pick them, but some fresh sprigs of herbs and a bay leaf and 5 to 10 whole peppercorns. We'll get that in. We're going to put this on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then we will let it simmer for 2 to 3 hours and cook down. We'll strain it and we'll have our broth to make our Beggars soup. So let's get started on that. So we took the skin and bones from our rotisserie chicken and we added some vegetables and herbs and some water, and we created a stock for our Beggars soup. Beggars soup has a long history, and it was not made with chicken or chicken stock. It was made with just water, and there was no chicken in it. It gets all its protein from eggs. So we're going to do that today, but we're going to just change it up a little bit. We're going to make it a little bit more hearty and bring it up to the 21st century, and we're going to add chicken to it. So the first thing we do is we add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now all of the recipes, the recipe for the chicken stock, the recipe for the Beggars soup, can all be found on the chefinthefridge.com on the recipe page. So we're going to add our onion. It's basically 1 medium yellow onion that's been sliced very thin. We'll saute that for about 5 minutes, get a little translucent. Then we'll add our potatoes, and then we'll finish it up. So our onions are sauteed, they're nice and softened. So we'll add our potatoes. You could add the potatoes after the stock, but this step, the extra couple of minutes, 5 minutes of sauteing with the onions, with the olive oil, are really going to develop that flavor with the potatoes as well and make them taste that much better later. So let's get this back on the stove for 5 minutes, then we can put the rest of our ingredients in and finish up. So our potatoes and our onions and our herbs and spices have all been simmering for about 20 minutes. We'll pull out our thyme, our rosemary, and our bay leaf. And we can finish up this dish. Okay, come on. So good in there, they don't want to come out. All right. So what we're going to do, we have some scrambled eggs here, and the residual heat inside the broth is plenty to cook them. So we want to stir and slowly drizzle in this egg. So the egg is where they got all their protein in this original version of Beggars soup. So think about it, it's made with onions, potatoes, and eggs. So you can't really get much cheaper or more readily available ingredients than that. So we have our eggs cooked in. Now we're going to take it to the next level though, and we're going to add rotisserie chicken. So let's do that. Let's shred some rotisserie chicken in. And we're going to add white meat, dark meat. But this is another example of why we can do this, because the rotisserie chickens are so accessible, so affordable. And again, we've done nothing here to waste an ingredient. The broth is made out of the bones and the skin, and now the meat is going to make this a really hearty dish. So I wouldn't say it's in any way, shape, or form similar to the original traditional, but you know what? That's what recipes are all about. You take something great like that that's lasted so long, and then you update it. So that's what we've done here. So we're gonna put this back on the stove for about 5 minutes, that's it. Get that chicken heated up, and then we will do the final plating. And all the details of the recipes can be found on the chefinthefridge.com recipe page. Let's get this on the stove. Our soup is done. Let's plate it. So you can see how hearty it is. The potatoes, the onions, and then that egg added all that extra protein. Now to finish it, lots of pecorino romano. Again, going back to calling this beggar soup, I'm not sure that this was readily available, although you never know. Part of the history of beggar soup does have an Italian background to it, and maybe pecorino romano was everywhere back then. Some fresh ground black pepper. And here we go. Our beggar soup with some added rotisserie chicken with a broth made from the bones and the skin. So here we've taken one ingredient, a rotisserie chicken, store-bought, store-cooked, super value, and we've created the delicious flavors, taking everything we could out of it. That's what Chef in the Fridge is about. This soup now, you can make this on Sunday or Monday. It can sit in the fridge for 5 days, take out as much as you want. You can freeze it if you like and use it another time. So there's no issue. Same thing with the broth. Broth is great if you take it and you freeze it. So it's available anytime. So there's no reason, even if you're not going to make soup with the rotisserie chicken, you could take that broth and still save it after making it. And that's what Chef in the Fridge is all about. For you to be your own chef in the fridge. For you to take these ingredients, create some fun, and adapt some recipes, because recipes are a suggestion to you, and never waste anything. So we're looking forward to you to visit our page to get these recipes at thechefinthefridge.com and our next episode.